U.S. ally. Police clashed today with anti-government demonstrators in the capital, Ankara. Protests that began more than a week ago are now spreading across the country. A medical group says one person has been killed. More than 3,000 people have been injured in the past 2 days of unrest. CNN's senior international correspondent Ivan Watson is joining us now from Istanbul. Ivan, we're seeing thousands of people still on the streets. It's after 1 a.m. right now. This reminds me of what we saw in Tahrir Square in Cairo, 2 years ago. You were there as well.
That's right. There are some bizarre similarities when you get out to the way, so you can see it's thinning out a little bit. It is after 1 o'clock in the morning. It's been a predominantly peaceful day here in Istanbul, though we're hearing about some clashes taking place not too far from where we are right now between riot police and scattered groups of demonstrators. More ominous hearing of bigger clashes in the Turkish capital, Ankara, as well as in the border town of Antakya. That's near the Syrian border, which has been a very troublesome area for months now. One of the biggest labor confederations, unions in the country, has announced it's going to launch a 24-hour strike tomorrow. I've had tourist operators calling me saying, what is that going to do? What's that going to do to our business? And the Turkish stock market dropped 10% today. So it shows that all this unrest is having a major impact now, starting to have it on the Turkish economy.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of tourists are thinking twice about visiting Turkey right now. So what started all of this, Ivan?
You could argue that a mountain has really been made out of a molehill. It started with a protest, a couple dozen people a week ago that didn't want some trees to get bulldozed. They are the biggest anti-government protests Turkey has seen in a decade. An explosion of anger, exacerbated by the Turkish police, who've been criticized for their excessive use of force.
In these days especially, they're like monsters. They can't do that.
It's hard to believe it all started barely a week ago with this. A couple dozen protesters camped out in a central Istanbul park. They held a peaceful sit-in, protesting government plans to bulldoze one of the last green spaces left in the city center. Riot police cracked down, hitting protesters with tear gas and pepper spray. And then something in Turkey snapped. Demonstrators began attacking the police, outraged by the behavior of the security forces.
You can see here how the Turkish riot police are going after gatherings of people here in Istanbul's Taksim Square, in the heart of the city. Come on over here. Ordinary civilians being caught up in what's taking place here. An old lady knocked on the ground by a water cannon.
Suddenly, it wasn't about the park anymore. It was about the Prime Minister, Recep Tayyip Erdogan.
He has big ego. He has this, Napoleon syndrome on it. He thinks himself as the next sultan and controlling all this Middle Eastern politics and such. He needs to stop doing that. He's just a prime minister. And he needs to remember that we people elected him.
Turkey's prime minister has responded with characteristic defiance, ridiculing the protesters and defending a decade in office during which his political party has won many elections.
Tayyip Erdogan is a dictator? If you are the kind of person who can call someone who serves their people a dictator, then I have no words for you.
You have a prime minister who has done great deeds, and he really does run the economy well, but he also has this paternalistic style. I know what's good for you, and I as your father can decide on the poorest,
Fuck that he ain't my father.
And the Constitution. So I think people are just wanting to have a more inclusive form of democracy in Turkey.
Now, Wolf, I think that the past couple of days and these recurring images of police cracking down on demonstrators has pretty much hurt the image of the Turkish Prime Minister, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who has tried to portray Turkey as a model Muslim democracy to
y'all
countries of
is
2 years, the Arab countries of the Arab Spring, where people rose up to overthrow their dictators. In fact, he urged urged people like Hosni Mubarak, the president of Egypt, to listen to his people. And now some of those same words are being thrown back at the Turkish Prime Minister himself by his own citizens. Well,
Ivan watching what's going on in Istanbul. Ivan, thanks for the excellent report. Americans, by the way, in Turkey are being warned to stay away from protests across the country for their own safety. The Secretary of State, John Kerry, says he's concerned about all of this violence.
And we are concerned by the reports of excessive use of force by police. We obviously hope that there will be a full investigation of those incidents and full restraint from the police.
Why the fuck you worry about Oakland, San Jose?
And we urge all people involved, those demonstrating and expressing their freedom of expression and those in the government, to avoid any provocations of violence.
Yeah, go show a dildo up in your motherfucking ass. Don't worry about your own country.
Protests that start out peacefully can turn confrontational, possibly escalating into violence. We'll stay on top of the story. A key NATO ally, Turkey, has got some major problems right now. Coming up, a huge plume of smoke and a horrible, horrible way to die. Who locked dozens of workers inside this burning plant? Plus, we now know what caused a huge cargo plane to fall out of the sky